Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. I'm Diane King Hall alongside Kevin Hinks joining from the SIBO. Time now for our cash tag segment. Taking a look at Reddit. For that, we want to bring in our next guest, and that is Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio. Andy, thank you so much for joining us and bringing your data as usual. So Reddit, on a year-over-year basis, that stock has had some challenges. I mean, it's down about 30% on a year-over-year basis. When you look across your sentiment data, what does the landscape look like now?
Well, it looks pretty good in terms of just the raw numbers. You know, this is a position we had for quite a while and got out last December, just a couple months ago. It's been falling since then. But when we look at the data now, you know, if we look at ad growth interest, so people visiting the actual advertising site of Reddit versus some of its peers, Reddit up 111% year over year, absolutely blowing away peers like Pinterest, Snapchat, and Meta. Part of that's because they're coming off of a small base, but another part of that is because these ads really work and deliver a very high ROI because Reddit users are very engaged and very open to learning new things and learning about new products. Platform engagement on Reddit looks good, up 5% year over year, not explosive, but again, that's off of a larger base, so any growth there is good. I think from a pure numbers and pure reporting perspective, they're going to post a good quarter. The question is about the guidance and specifically about their partnership with Google, because we're starting to see a lot of commentary around Google and its Gemini AI platform really starting to prioritize YouTube videos and sending its users to YouTube rather than to Reddit threads. And so that's an enormous problem for Reddit that is starting to develop, and we'll be extremely interested to see what executives say about that partnership with Google and how that's going and how much traffic they're losing because of the shift in Google Gemini priorities.
Andy, I read 2 articles on Reddit today preparing for the show, and both of them said the exact same thing, and that is in terms of the early monetization stages, it's early meta platforms. And this is like a baby version of Facebook or Meta that could grow into something incredible. But also, both mentioned their dependence on Google search for some of their traffic is something that could bring some risk into this. So how do they work through that? I mean, they're the users are growing rapidly. Their average revenue per user is growing rapidly. They're doing everything right. They've got to monetize better. But this looks like it's at the beginning stages of a really good story going forward. But they've got to figure out this Google Alphabet Gemini thing, don't they?
Yeah, they do. You know, we talk about these stories a lot on here. It's a huge opportunity. It's a company with that is showing signs of being very good at execution. I mean, gross margins are above 90%, EBITDA margins hitting 60%. So they're scaling profits in an incredible way. And there's a lot of open space in front of them. So there's enormous opportunities long-term with a really big short-term problem. And that is, you know, when you go to Google now, I don't know if you've noticed, but you know, they're showing the Gemini results right at the top, and they're using the AI to try to keep you from even having to click on anything, much less send people over to something that they don't own, like Reddit. If you're going to click, they'd rather you go to YouTube. That's obvious. And so that's a big conflict for Reddit because a ton of their traffic comes from Google. So again, when we're listening to this conference call, I don't think it's going to be about the numbers or the advertising or the margins. Those are all going well, and I think Wall Street knows that. It's really more about how the company is dealing with this current crisis, and there's going to be more crises along the way for Reddit, but that's what happens when you're a company that's growing really fast and taking market share from peers. All of a sudden, problems start to pop up that become pretty big problems, at least in the short term.
Andy, really quickly before I get into my next question, just want to address we had a bell just happen on the floor today. A couple IPOs happening. That was Bob's Discount Furniture, just opened moments ago for its initial debut. Starting out with a little bit of it's been fluctuating. It initially was a little soft, but now it's ticking a little bit higher right now. Up about 0.25%, fluctuating, now flat, trading at $17 a share. This is its trading debut. The furniture retailer's initial public offering was actually priced at the low end of expectations. Tough day for a public debut given the overall market softness that we've seen, but things could turn certainly throughout the day. The day is still young. We'll actually have the CFO on later in our programming in our Market on Close with Sam Vadas and Marley Caden. Now, Andy, the next question I want to get into you as it pertains to Reddit. Given where shares are and your data, how do you look at it in terms of your earnings score that you all typically go by? In other words, would there be a potential entry point today, given your data and the softness it's had over the past year?
No, I think we'd still have to wait until after the report. I think that the Wall Street is expecting a very large move on this earnings report. So you have to be prepared for that if you're a shareholder. And if you're entering today, you have to be prepared for, this could move 14% in either direction, and that wouldn't really be a huge surprise to Wall Street. So you got to be careful here. I do think that Reddit's long-term trajectory is very strong, but so has been the stock if you look at it over a significant period of time. And so there's a real possibility of better entry points in the future, and that's what we're going to wait for. We're going to wait for the current or the short-term problems to overwhelm Wall Street sentiment while the core business and the long-term solutions are being built out by the company. That's the way we like to invest. And so with Reddit, we're on a wait and see. Let's see what the company says. And if we get a significant dip at any point in 2026, as long as the long-term data continues to show that advertisers love this platform, then we're eventually going to be buyers, but not just yet.
Kevin, you got a final thought?
Andy, one last question. Is this, what this company's doing, how well they execute, are they ripe to be purchased, or are they too big to be purchased? Do they have too much market cap? Is it too expensive of a price? Because they seem to have a nice, their problems would all go away, let's put it that way, if they were purchased by someone like Google Alphabet or Amazon or someone that has the cash to do it and the wherewithal to know this business, like a Meta Platforms. Not like they haven't done that in the past. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation. I don't know at current valuation if it makes sense, but there's definitely value there. I think that if you're a Google and you could, put your own advertising network and that demand into the Reddit advertising ecosystem, you could probably pay for the purchase really quickly. The problem Reddit has is that it's being co-opted by all the AI engines, and that its data and its answers and the things that it provides to its users is being undercut by all of these AI platforms. And so you don't necessarily need Reddit in order to have Reddit quality engagement. And so I think that's the biggest problem for Reddit as an acquisition strategy. Their ad platform is not that revolutionary that someone else's wouldn't already be better. And their content, while valuable, has already pretty much been sold to the highest bidder at this point. So I don't see them as a takeover target at this price, but if Wall Street throws the baby out with the bathwater, then those types of things can start becoming more and more attractive.
All right, Andy, we'll leave it there for today. That's Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio, with a look across Reddit and beyond. Now, for the trading perspective of all things Reddit, let's bring Tom back into the fold.